From R.D. Smothers Wealth Management, this is The Retirement.
When you retire, if you want an exciting life, you need a boring investment strategy.
Matters.
If you enter into retirement without a plan for income, you're not retired, you're simply unemployed.
Podcast.
Hey, this is your host, Dale Smothers, and you're listening to the Retirement Matters Podcast. My hope is that you will find the information you need in every single show on how to do one of the three things: either saving more money more efficiently, planning better for your future where you can live in retirement worry-free, or my favorite, how you can live a happy and fulfilled life in this life you have been given. We know that your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending it listening to this episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast. On this episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast, we go into understanding where we are in the stock market, why we got here, and what moves you should be making. We also discuss the importance of working with the right advisor in your retirement income phase and the importance of making sure you're taking the right next steps and not just taking steps because it's time to, quote unquote, take a step. We can assist you with that. 270-600-PLANS, how you get in touch with our team. This is not going to be a long introduction. This particular show speaks for itself. I will tell you that this show came out the first time it was recorded live on the 24th of May, and because we're talking about market performance, it's likely that some things have changed from the time that it aired to the time that it became a podcast, which is a lot of our podcasts are archived TV or radio shows. We would love to talk to you specifically if you have questions about where you're at today as you're listening to this show, or perhaps you are close to the retirement income phase. 59 and a half is a golden age for us to start considering what income phase is going to look like in retirement. Over the age of 60, it's time. We would be happy to sit down with you. 270-600-PLAN. Again, our phone number for our office, rdswealth.com. Set up a free 15-minute phone call is another way you can get in touch with us. Listen, I hope that you enjoy this episode, and if there's anything that you'd like to hear more of or anything that you would like for us to discuss in future shows, feel free to reach out to us by either phone call, 270-600-PLAN, or send us an email, contact@rdswealth.com, and we will take your recommendation seriously. We have added a lot of things to the show because of listeners' request, and we can do that for you as well. So, without further ado, let's jump to this week's episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast. Enjoy the show. Good morning to you. I hope you are doing well and you are ready to start discussing all things retirement matters. This morning, we've got a lot to get to. I'm sitting here looking at my papers, and I feel like we have got a lot to cover in a very short period of time. We're going to try to make heads and tails of what's been going on in the market over the last couple of months, and I'm going to discuss why it's important to work with the right advisor for you. And if time permits, I'm going to tell you what to be expecting in the market for the next few moves and how you should be reacting to those market moves as we go throughout the next, say, 2 to 3 months here going through summer of 2025. It's going to be important to understand and expect things to happen and not overreact to those things. So let's get into the Pause for Positivity section of this morning's show. And this morning's Pause for Positivity, again, the Pause for Positivity section is designed to get you thinking in a way of either self-reflection or positive thought. There's too much negativity in the world. From time to time, we may even come in here and just share a positive story, or we might challenge you to revisit your thinking and to hopefully help shape the world around us in a more positive light, one person at a time. I know that you are capable of helping this world become a better place because you were put here with a purpose. And that purpose, according to the gospel, is to shine the love of Christ. And the love of Christ, to share that love, makes the world a better place. So let's get into this morning's thought of positivity. And this thought is a question. When a bird lands on a branch, does it trust the branch or does it trust its own wings? You see, when a bird lands on the branch, it stops flapping its wings because, in theory, it's trusting in the branch. But do you think that the branch breaking gives that bird any anxiety? Do you think that when it is about to land on the branch that it thinks, oh no, if this branch breaks, I will die? And the answer to that question most likely is no, because it knows what power it possesses inside. If the branch were to break, it would simply flap its wings and begin to fly. So it's not the fear of the branch breaking that keeps it from landing on the branch. It knows that it's possible that the branch could be a faulty branch. It could be a dead branch. It could not support the weight of the bird. And if that's the case, it will simply get up and fly again. This is a life lesson for us to consider, because we always have to know that the power of our safety, the power of our success, the power of our positive outlook on life, if we want to keep with the line of thought here, it lies in us. We will always have the power to shape our own thought, to shape our own destiny. This power is inside of us. We were created with that. A bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking, because its trust is not in the branch, but in its own wings. Always believe in yourself. Always know that you have the power to change a situation. If the situation were to take a turn for the worse, change it. Don't fear relaxing in the situation or taking a rest in situations because of anxiety, simply because you know the power lies in you. And again, I think the power lies in you because of our Creator. Just like He made the bird to be able to fly, He made you to be able to survive bad situations. He made you able to adapt and overcome certain issues in life, or maybe it's a friendship that has ended, or a marriage that has ended, or it's a financial stress or burden that worries you. Rest in what lies inside. And that very easily could be Christ Himself. Resting in that, knowing in that, believing in that allows us to live life as free as the birds. And ultimately, that wouldn't be too bad of a goal to have. All right, let's get into some retirement matters when we come back from this short break. I'm going to tell you real quick, throughout this show, we're going to be jumping from topic to topic. We're going to bring some closure to some things that maybe you've had questions about. But if you have individualized questions or specific questions, feel free to navigate to our website, rdswealth.com. Again, rdswealth.com. Go to our website, sign up for a free, no-cost 15-minute phone conversation with one of our advisors, and we will discuss things that you have questions about. We'll call you. You don't even have to come into the office. We'll give you a call. And from there, we can decide what the next steps need to look like. This is something we offer to you, again, at no cost. If you have questions, we have answers, and we would love to bring those to you. Just simply navigate to our website, rdswealth.com. I'm also going to, on this show, probably discuss an upcoming class that is happening on Tuesday, the 27th of May, which is essentially right around the corner, just a few hours away, depending on when you're listening to this. It's this Tuesday coming. So if you're listening on Saturday, we got just a few days. If you're listening on Sunday or Monday, even less time. Tuesday, the 27th at 6 o'clock in Campbellsville, Kentucky. If you are listening to the show and you would like to attend, it is a retirement readiness class discussing everything from when to take Social Security to how to safeguard your assets in your retirement account against financial losses in market volatility. We can discuss that in more detail. RSVP by calling our office, 270-600-PLAN. Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we are going to be discussing recent market volatility over the last few weeks and what we expect to happen over the next few months. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back with more Retirement Matters right after this. Attention upcoming retirees. If you're over the age of 60 with money in this market, you are likely concerned about your retirement account. RD Smothers Wealth Management is hosting a very important informational event with you in mind.
That's right, Dale. We'll cover issues like keeping more of your money safe in current market conditions. Also, how to lower your tax bill in retirement and ways to optimize Social Security, all while building the retirement you've always imagined.
So if you're asking yourself, can I retire without running out of money? Join us as we discuss key strategies to eliminate that fear and worry.
Retiring the way you desire will not happen by accident, and RDS Wealth is here to help you define and implement the path to get you there.
Mark your calendar, Tuesday, May 27th, 6 till 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time at the offices of RD Smothers Wealth Management, West Main Street, downtown Campbellsville. Event is free, but seating is very limited. RSVP by calling 270-600-PLAN. That's 270-600-PLAN.
All right, welcome back to the show. Let's get into a little bit of understanding where we are in the market now and what we expect to happen over the coming weeks as we go into a lot of earnings that are coming up in the stock market and the volatility around tariffs. Let's discuss first how we've gotten to where we are. We saw on April a fairly historical move in the market. In just 4 or 5 days, we lost 10-15% on major indices. This was a major move to the downside, taking us negative for the year, and a lot of news publications would have made you think that the end of the world was near, that we were headed into a financial meltdown. And sure enough, the bond market did start to show a little sign of weakness. Now, we're not going to get into the weeds on why that's important, not on this show. But what we do need to know is that the Trump administration saw the weakness in the bond market and decided to announce a 90-day pause on almost every country except China. The 90-day pause on April the 9th has now got a deadline of July the 9th, was put on the world, putting a 10% baseline tariff across all countries, which was a major reduction in what the tariffs would have been, which is what was called retaliatory tariffs. This caused the market to sell off, like we said. And once that 90-day pause was announced, the market acted a little bit more favorably, realizing that things were starting to calm down just a little bit, but China was still on the table. Well, come April 14th, the Trump administration announces another 90-day pause with China after some negotiation had taken place. There was some negotiation that said, let's cool down just a little bit and give it 90 days to finalize a deal. That was struck on the 14th, and when that happened, we saw the market take off. It started making a lot of money. Now, if you've been paying attention to your 401ks, you've seen this type of movement. If you have watched your 401ks over the last week, however, you have seen some downward pressure. And the reason for that downward pressure is due to a Moody's, which is a giant rating agency, a Moody's downgrade. Moody's downgraded our credit worthiness, just like you as an individual have a credit score. The country has a credit score, and the country's credit score was deemed just a little bit. It was moved down just a tad, which doesn't mean we're going to default by any means, but it does mean that we have to pay a higher interest rate to borrow money as a country. Now, all of that happens organically, and again, we're not going to get into the details of the bond market because it's very, very complicated and a lot of heavy lifting for a radio listening audience. I'm confident you could get it, but it might take some time between you and I sitting down on a more personal level. Be happy to do that if you want some more information. But what we do have to comprehend to understand why the market's moving like this is that when interest rates rise for the country, more times than not, that also means that the banks in that country, who have to meet minimum standards every single night when they close their doors, are going to charge higher interest rates to their customers. And many times, companies are customers of major banks in America, and these companies have shares that are outstanding in the U.S. stock market. Well, when those banks are going to charge more to the companies to borrow money, which is needed, then the bottom line of those companies gets smaller. And when the bottom line of a company gets smaller, stocks are sold. And when stocks are sold, the market goes down. This is how all of this starts to work. So by one thing happening, another thing happens. And it's not to worry because we have a lot of things that are still optimistic and positive to come. Let's talk a little bit about those. The downgrade of credit is not the best news in the world at all, but I think we're going to get that underway. I think we're going to be okay on that because our current administration is dead set on lowering our deficits and cutting fraud, waste, and abuse from our spending. With that agenda, I think that Moody's ratings will likely increase or go back to where they were. Our credit worthiness, our ability and desire to pay debt will likely increase. In other words, our credit score will go higher. I'm not afraid of our credit score because even the downgrade that we received wasn't a substantial downgrade. It was noteworthy, but it wasn't market moving to the sense of a total collapse. So what do we need to really focus on then? Well, right now we've got to focus on tariffs. The biggest thing about all of this is the tariff and the trade war. July the 9th is a date that we need to watch where the retaliatory tariffs come back on the rest of the world. Not China, but the rest of the world. Tariffs and the tariff rates will skyrocket again for those countries who have not finalized a deal with the Trump administration on July the 9th. If we do not have a great deal of clarity around what countries have not finalized their deal or what countries are still standing in line to finalize a deal, when the July 1st comes around, we're likely to see even more market volatility. The market volatility in the past week or two has also been associated with people rebalancing their portfolios, which is very, very important for you. And we're going to discuss that later in the show. This reassessment of risk is to be expected after a major drop in the market, because after this major drop, people are shocked. And they think, wait a minute, should I really be taking this much risk? Or how did I feel during that downturn? And maybe I should resell or recalibrate some things in my portfolio, which causes a lag time or a pause in the stock market. July the 9th, I mentioned that date. August the 14th, also a date that we need to be paying attention to because August the 14th is the China finalization deadline. And I do believe we're going to have some serious headway in the Chinese trade deal for that to not cause extreme volatility. Volatility means change in the stock market. When change occurs up or down, we call that volatility. We're all happy with positive volatility. None of us really like negative volatility. And it's important as you go into retirement to make sure that you are minimizing negative volatility. Keeping volatility at bay means that you have a more stable, a more sustainable, and a more live happy style retirement. Less fear and worry, allowing you to retire the way you desire. If you would like an understanding on how to build your retirement plan with less volatility, give us a call, 270-600-PLAN. We can sit down and show you specifically how your plan or your retirement investment plan, at least, can be built to minimize volatility. But it's much more than just an investment account that helps you retire successfully. It's making sure you're taking the sources of income that you need correctly, like Social Security and pensions. It's making sure that you're not paying too much in taxes to the IRS over your lifetime. It's making sure that Medicare is squared away and Medicare supplements are tailor-made to your unique desires and needs, and making sure that you are protecting the farm against loss in the event of a long-term care. That is what we help you do at RDS Wealth. I'm going to play a real quick clip of what has taken place in China. I think it's a funny little clip. Let's see, it's a couple minutes long. This clip is from a Fox News interview with John Kennedy, who you may be aware is a Louisiana senator, and Sean Hannity. Now, I don't care where your politics lie. This is good stuff, and it's good to hear because the Chinese thing being the big elephant in the room for us, we need to know that the China trade deal is working in our favor, and I want you to know that if we stay the course, we will win this trade war, I'm convinced, and that will be a tremendous benefit for the American economy and thus the stock market. Ultimately, your 401k. Let's get to this clip real quick, and I'll pick you up on the other end.
Let me ask you, Senator, because when you were last on the program, we were talking about trade and tariffs. And what you said on this program is you hope that the president is able to get one deal after another after another. Great Britain, I don't think, really surprised everybody, but it was a good deal for the U.S. This is 60 years that friend and foe alike is kind of taking advantage of us, right? Yep. So we have an opportunity here to really get things right, which I think is critical. And then China. What do you make of that deal? And what message do you think it sends to the rest of the world? And Scott Besson said that 130 countries are lined up.
Well, I think it's obvious. Unless you're the reason that your parents drank, you see that it was a big victory, not just for President Trump, but for America. Before the president did what he did, China's tariffs on the United States were a little over 20% on average. Now they're 10. Our tariffs on China were a little over 20. Now they're 30. That's a 20-point swing. Now, I've listened all day to some of my Democratic colleagues say that, well, we didn't get anything for it. If you believe that, I'm not saying you're the dumbest person in the world, but you better hope the dumbest person in the world doesn't die. It was a clear victory. The other point I would make, I think Trump understands how to deal with China. Look, the Chinese, not the people of China. I'm speaking about the Chinese Communist Party. They're thieves. They steal with both hands. They will steal your socks without taking off your shoes. That's how they've gotten rich. We let them into the World Trade Organization on December 11th of 2001. They started cheating December 12th. And Trump was the first president, he did this in the first term, to ever stand up to China and say, stop the stealing. And now he's doubled down, and it's working. We still got a long way to go. China cheats in other ways besides tariffs, with quotas and subsidies and stealing intellectual property. But this is a good start.
What you just heard is, again, John Kennedy, a senator of the United States, and he discussed a few very good things. I'm going to point out two of them. First of all, our tariffs against China have risen, and they're okay with that, at least till now. And their tariffs against us has lowered. And like he said, that's a 20-point swing in our favor in both areas. Very, very good for American businesses. And then secondly, I want you to hear him say that they steal with both hands. Now, he's got a funny way of delivery, and I love this guy in his anecdotes. But stealing with both hands is exactly what they do. They being the Chinese Communist Party, will invite a company in, like, say, Apple or Lululemon, and they will steal their intellectual property, meaning they will take what they make, they will analyze it from front to back because it's required to do business there that the Chinese Communist Party has all intellectual property, and then they will steal it. They will understand what it is, and they do not recognize our patents or our trademarks. And then before too long, the flooded market has your competitor. Imagine that you've just built a new, say, iPhone. You're Apple. You have this amazing technology, and you go into China to do business, and within just a few years, there is a competitor that does exactly what you do for half the price because they didn't honor the patent that you had paid for. That is what China does, and it's what has to be stopped. And the good news is that at least the current administration is hell-bent on making it happen. And if we can just keep the faith, if we can just stay the course as American people and consumers, maybe paying a little bit more for certain things, it will benefit America, it will benefit our neighbors, it will benefit our families. And I believe if we can eliminate globalization, meaning the outsourcing of these jobs and these factories, it will hopefully re-strengthen middle America, which is something we've lost in globalization. Globalization has made the coast cities big and prosperous, and middle America, flyover country, if you will, which we live in, the heartland of our country, has really taken a hit due to globalization. This is front and center in the current administration. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we are getting into why it's important to work with the right advisor based off of where you are in your retirement journey. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back with more Retirement Matters right after this. Attention upcoming retirees. If you're over the age of 60 with money in this market, you are likely concerned about your retirement account. RD Smothers Wealth Management is hosting a very important informational event with you in mind.
That's right, Dale. We'll cover issues like keeping more of your money safe in current market conditions. Also, how to lower your tax bill in retirement and ways to optimize Social Security, all while building the retirement you've always imagined.
So if you're asking yourself, can I retire without running out of money? Join us as we discuss key strategies to eliminate that fear and worry.
Retiring the way you desire will not happen by accident, and RDS Wealth is here to help you define and implement the path to get you there.
Mark your calendar, Tuesday, May 27th, 6 till 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time at the offices of RD Smothers Wealth Management, West Main Street, downtown Campbellsville. Event is free, but seating is very limited. RSVP by calling 270-600-PLAN. That's 270-600-PLAN.
All right, welcome back to the show. This is our last segment of the show, and my goodness, this episode has went by very quickly. I hope that you've gotten a lot of good information so far on why we are where we are and how things have kind of transpired over the last couple of months. On the 22nd, I've actually wrote this down, on the 22nd of April, I began to tell any publication, any news outlet that I was on and a part of, whether it was radio, TV, or even podcast, that I'm feeling the tides turn. The tides are turning, and I would begin to say that we knew things were starting to turn around, and it all started really with China, and with China having a little bit of clarity and a 90-day pause. Well, that's exactly where we are today. I still think that optimism in the U.S. stock market will be rewarded, but when you are building a portfolio for retirees who are in or very near retirement income phase, it's important that you build that portfolio in a way that it can embrace the optimism of the stock market, but not take the negative side of stock market moves. So in other words, embracing the optimism, but decorrelating or disengaging from the U.S. stock market if the market takes a tumble. Because in income phase, it's important that you have clarity around where your income's coming from, how much tax you're going to be paying, how long your money will last, and making sure that the stock market doesn't steal that money from you, and that if you are losing money in your account, it's because you're spending it, not because the stock market woke up and had a bad day. We had a advisor that was telling me recently that they were talking to a client. They are not yet a client, considering becoming a client of RDS Wealth. And we had our first conversation with them in office. Over a warm cup of coffee, we sit down and we just begin discussing their desires, hopes, and goals, figuring out where they are, where they want to be, and what kind of roadmap's necessary to get them to that destination. And one of the things that one of the family members said, I can't remember if it was husband or wife, said to another advisor on the team, they said, we feel like we are ping pong balls. We've went to our current advisor, not RDS Wealth Advisor. We went to an advisor that we worked with for many, many years to get to where we are. And we've asked him, can I retire? And he said, well, you're going to have to go talk to your CPA. So he went to his CPA and he said, CPA, can I retire? And the CPA said, well, you need to go talk to your financial advisor. So he went back to his financial advisor, and his financial advisor said there's just too many things for us to even figure to be able to tell you for sure whether or not you can retire. And when another advisor on my team heard that, he looked at the couple across from him and said, you want to know why they can't tell you whether or not you can retire? Because there are a lot of variables that go into retirement. And if you are working with a growth advisor, it's very difficult for them to tell you with any degree of certainty whether or not you can retire. It's not that they're bad advisors, but you will feel like a ping pong ball if you're not careful. And I thought that was a great way of describing their feelings. When this couple across the room said, we've been working with another advisor and we just feel like a ping pong ball because we can't get an accurate answer. It means they're being bounced from one to the next, from one financial professional to another. So here's my message to you. Not all financial advisors are created equally, and it's not that one is bad and one may be good. It's that there are specialties in this industry, and if you are needing a specialist in retirement income phase, you need to come talk to a retirement income specialist. This is what we do here at RDS Wealth. Well, what is a retirement income specialist, Dale? A retirement income specialist is someone who will help you build the income plan in retirement, knowing when to take income when you get ready to retire, where that income should come from, how does inflation affect that income, do you have enough money to retire? We address that question very, very quickly in our relationship. Before you pay us a dime, we can answer that question for you. And from there, helping you manage those assets to limit volatility, what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, limit that volatility, allowing you to take home more money, paying less in tax, and helping you navigate Medicare, the alphabet soup of Medicare plans, long-term care spending, how do we pay for those things, and how do we make sure that the people you care about, the institutions that you want to give to when you pass away, how do they get your money as efficiently as possible? All of that goes into a strong retirement income plan, and you need that for yourself. If you don't have it, give us a call, 270-600-PLAN. We can help you build the retirement you've always imagined and truly allow you to walk into retirement free from worry, free from doubts as to whether or not you're doing the right thing, and ultimately live happy in retirement. All right, and just like that, we're at the end of the show. You should be very careful in the next 2 to 3 months that you don't do the wrong steps because of emotions in the stock market. We will see some volatility creeping back in. Don't panic. Things are going to shake out okay. Now, if you have to start making decisions and moves, we are here to help you. So if you are over the age of 59 and a half, it is time for you to get serious about retirement income phase, and we want to discuss that with you. Here's the ways to get in touch with our team. 270-600-PLAN is our phone number. Our website, rdswealth.com. You can go there and sign up for a 15-minute phone call. We will reach out to you. Again, no cost for either of those, or simply swing by our office and we'll set you up with an appointment. Until we talk again, whether it's in person or it's right here on this same station, always remember 3 things: save money, plan well, and live happy in retirement. God bless.
Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and RD Smothers Wealth Management are not affiliated companies. Investing involves a risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. RD Smothers Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by RD Smothers Wealth Management.